Sorry, bro. Yeah.
Your husband or your friend, you want to give him the best present, right? You're thinking of my hands are cold, sorry. Carry on. The best present because you love it. Yeah, you love him. So you're thinking, what's the best present I can give? Well, let me take it reverse. Your husband wants to express love to you, and he's thinking, I want to show my love, something that she would appreciate. So he says, okay, let me look around and say, look, I like football. I enjoy football so much that football is my life. And he's got these boots, his dearest boots that he has, right? He will not even let anyone touch these boots. Smelly boots, right? The boots. He says, that's my dearest possession, I think, close to my heart. I'm going to give this wrapped up to my wife. And the wife actually tolerated her husband because they love each other, but she doesn't like football at all. At all, let alone the boots. So when he gives these boots to her, she can appreciate and understand that, okay, someone's trying to show some love and so on, but it's not something that you like. It's not something that you would want from someone because you don't like football. So your husband should have known what you like. You should have even asked, okay, or find out what you like. And then he was like, okay, you know what? Oh, I know what you like. You like this, for example, very good chocolate, for example. This is, you enjoy. Do that. You see?
It's like saying your mother wants you to love her in this way. But this is my question. So let's say your mother says, I want you to love me in this way. But you don't do it in that way. You do it in another way. Would she stop loving you?
Your mother would know that you're trying to, but you should have known better that, this is how my mother feels, that I should be loving her. So God has created us, placed us here to fulfill a purpose. And He wants us to be grateful to Him and be, loving Him.
But why can't we do it in different ways?
Right. Now, if we now do our own ways, for example, you may come up with ways which is in line with mostly the way of the Prophet. For example, be nice, be kind, and so on. Because that's the human values that God wants us to inculcate better, right?
Yes.
But it could be that you come up with ways where it's totally against, anything that we think is moral. For example, I remember very clearly watching a documentary in Channel 4 many years ago. A Hindu priest. He was offering his worship by, it's quite disgusting example, by baking his own feces and eating it.
But to me, I know that's wrong.
But he thought that was a way of expressing his worship to his creator. But you think this is wrong, but he thought that was right. The point I'm making is here, individuals can come up with ways that we think is better to express our love to God. But the best way would be when God appoints a prophet and a messenger and shows us this is what you do and God will be pleased with you and will accept your... because that's why God doesn't send books from heaven with loves and kisses. He raises prophets and messengers to practically demonstrate to you. Right? Sorry, you were going to say something.
Say, for example, let's say all four of us here, we will not do, we will not be religious in the same ways. Yeah? We will all be different. That's my point. So even if God has sent this, let's say God has sent this message to show us this is the way to love me, this is the way to be good, we're all still going to do it in different ways.
2.4 billion Muslims around the world.
We'll do it in different ways.
No, that's quite... If you look at it, this is something that's what I'm saying. That's what you think, but not really. They're not very separate from the spectrum. No, that's what you see in the media.
Because I have
media shows a lot.
No. But I have a lot of Muslim friends. Probably 80% of my friends are Muslim.
Are they practicing?
Yes, and a few of them are very, very practicing, as in to the T, yeah? And with all due respect to them, I love that. I love that because that's how they want to be and that's how they're good in life, and I just respect that. But my point is that one of them to the other one will be different.
How do they differ in their
not in their ways,
worship
not in their ways,
of God?
not in their worship, but in their feeling, in their day-to-day action, in their thinking, in their in the way they think, in emotions. So it's all going to be different.
These
they might sit
points-
and pray in a different way to the other one sits and prays. That's why I'm saying, in my way, I pray in a different. I pray. I don't pray the way you guys think I pray. I pray in a completely different way. Why? Because that's the way I like to do it. And in my heart, it feels good. And to me, I find that my Creator made me and made my heart and made my emotions and made my feelings. So if I feel that this is right to me, then to me that is where it stands. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. What I was going to say to you is, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says you're not superior to each other except for in the way you worship. You understand? Yeah? You understand? In the way you worship. So the friends you have, they may well be all Muslim, but some of them may well be internally, just because you're physically doing the practice, does not say you're internally doing the practice. Do you get what I mean? Yeah? And that doesn't make them inferior in that sense, but it makes the others superior to the extent of worship.
Yes,
now,
yes,
the
I
other thing
understand
is,
what you're saying.
just one question if that's possible, Brother Mansur, and that is that, would you say alcohol is permissible or not permissible? I mean, by your standards.
Well, it's unhealthy for you, yes, but I do think that you can drink in modesty. Same way red meat.
Yeah.
Red meat is bad for you, very bad for you. If you eat it every day, chocolate's bad for you every day. Yeah, but there is things you do in balance in life. Yeah, I don't like drinking. Yeah, that's just who I am. But my auntie does. She's a very elegant lady, and she wouldn't do it in a
she's not doing
different
any harm
manner.
to anyone.
Yes,
Yeah,
and she will probably have one sip, and that's it. Live to the side.
But you see, this is why, sister, is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the Quran and Islam. Because we'll all going to have different opinions about that, correct?
Yes,
For example,
yes,
that's
you're
one of the
right. Yes,
examples
you're
that you're going to have
right.
different opinions. But would we be right in saying, would you agree with me, that the Creator knows us better than we know each other? In that sense.
Yes, but
The
then
Creator knows what's right for us, or would we know what's right for us? Who's the better decision maker in that situation?
obviously the creators.
Right.
But
Now, go
we
ahead.
make our environment around us.
Of course.
Okay?
Yeah.
So from now till, let's say, 3,000 years ago,
Yeah.
time has changed very much so.
Yeah.
Now, right now, what we live in is what we've made of it.
Yeah.
So we have to understand how to control it.
How did we end up here? You see, to tell the
So
truth,
for me, it's like, yes, Allah tells us to do this and that, but right now, in this day and age, we have to do things sometimes with our own ways, because now it's different to what it was 2,000 years ago. So if our environment, we need to understand that so many buses and cars, it's so unhealthy for us. People die just from that. People die just from eating red meat. So, I'm saying, in the Quran it doesn't say don't have no sugar, don't have no meat. Obviously, I'm sure it does say moderate things in life. I understand that, but that's my point, that if you understand that things are meant to be in moderation, then you'll understand the good way of living life. So not too much sugar, not too much coke, not too much this. There's so much poison in things. We don't know what the government puts in our drinks, or what the government puts in our food. We could be eating something that we think is okay and it's not okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's like I said, Islamically, for example, that alcohol is not a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Islamically. Now, if we were to say, let's say you created a country, just say, right? If you want to, I don't know what you're doing, right? But if you were going to do that, do you think it's a good idea to put ban alcohol, or just allow it? We're just saying who just started off. Just for, let's say, risk taking,
My grandma, when I was a baby, when I used to be ill, used to give me this much brandy to kind of make me
Same with
better.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And it would. You know what I mean? Methadone in
We're talking about
hospitals.
medicine, that's different.
I'm just saying, there's reasons why it's there, because it's good for you. There's some things that can be good for you. It's like methadone. It's if you're dying and my mum had
But
cancer,
as the brother
she needed
knows,
that.
you're Muslim, is that right? Yeah. But in Islam, we're allowed to have, like for example, the medicine has alcohol to clean the thing.
Yes,
You understand?
that's right,
So
yeah.
we know what the benefits are, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about like recreational
If
drinking.
I was to make my own country,
Yes.
I'd ban meat. I'd ban alcohol. I'd ban smoking cigarettes. I'd ban a lot of things.
So what I'm trying to
That's
say
the way
is,
I am. I like a clean
but you see,
life.
this is the reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken the responsibility of those type of things away from us, because we're not always going to make the best decisions.
Yes.
Yeah? So this is what I'm trying to say to you. If somebody might say, I'll ban alcohol, that might be a good decision. But then you said you're going to ban red meat. Yeah?
And some people might not agree with that.
Might not, it's not about agreeing with it. It's the fact that, for example, alcohol, can you become addicted to it? Yes. Can you become addicted to Red meat.
Sugar?
Red meat, sugar. Yeah. Can you become addicted? Not as much as alcohol.
Yes.
I would.
Yes.
I got. I'm pretty addicted to
who
sugar.
you are. It's about who you are. That's how where
right.
it comes into. You can be an
You're right,
addicted
you're right.
person. You cannot be an addicted person.
You're right. But can
I know
we?
people are addicted to Coke. They
Yeah,
just
yeah.
want to drink Coke every
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
Drink
But
Coke every day.
by drinking Coke, are you going to drive a car and mess up and kill a whole bunch
No,
of
but
people?
by drinking Coke,
But
you
you're
can
going to
die.
still cause
Harm
harm
yourself,
to your
right?
body.
Ah, so you see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that, right? Me and you might not know that fully, but He's understood that this is a problem for society and this is a personal problem. You're taking too much sugar, it's going to cause problem for you. Do you understand? Yeah.
But then that's saying
You know what I
like
mean?
there's so many things in life that's dangerous to us.
You know,
like
like
cars.
Hyde.
Like I don't know, planes. It doesn't mean we shouldn't sit in them. Just we
What's your
shouldn't.
name? Victor. I said to me, we'll ask you questions because I watch your videos. You know, knowledge from him, right? He said to me that you're scared to go to, what did he say?
He said he's so knowledgeable that no problem.
Society problem. So there's
How would explain to me how understandably how an aeroplane is society problem? Because it helps us. Does it help
we've
us?
created that.
Yeah, but it helps us to get from one place to another, right? What
Yes,
problem
but-
does it cause? Like society-wise. And then I'll let Brother Mansur come back because somebody's going to kill me.
All the pollution, it's pollution, yeah? Pollution in the air,
Yeah.
pollution all around us. People die from that.
Chemtrails.
If you
You're right.
if you go back to 200 years ago,
watching
we
me.
didn't hardly have cancer.
Yeah,
now
yeah.
1 in 3 people are getting cancer. I do a lot of research on cancer. There's so many illnesses, and that's from meat. That's because the animals, all these things are getting.
They're putting medicine,
Yes.
antibiotics, right?
What I'm-
But that's what mankind's doing.
Yes, but then this is my point. That, so the message we've got from God is telling us to do these things. But time evolves and new things become bad that we haven't been told to stop.
This is one
Do you
point.
understand what I mean?
No, one point to clarify though. This is, I think, your line of thinking is sound, but the solutions that you are coming up with is actually something that's been already offered, which you probably haven't noticed.
Oh, I haven't. I'm just saying how I feel.
Yeah. So, one of the main reasons the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came on this earth, was appointed in this earth. He says very clearly that I was raised. إنما بعثت لأتمم مكارم الأخلاق. I was raised to perfect the nobility of character. It's not that we are all doomed and we are all depraved and we don't have any good morals at all. No, we all have it,
No, we
right?
do, yes,
we all
I
have
believe
it.
that.
But he came to perfect it.
Yes, to
Perfect
lift
it.
it,
Perfect it.
to
So you
make us better people.
so you already have, from the discussion that we are having, you already have all the good values. Okay. The message of Islam to you will be something that you're familiar with already. So what you need to understand from my little knowledge that I have is that when Allah says, follow the Prophet, because Allah is giving the message that we need to continue live our life in this world through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, guidance of how to live our life, how to behave, not in a like when you said earlier how Muslims, your friends, they have different kind of thinking and their actions and so on. We do our all different things, but we do the things in certain principle. For example, if I'm going to speak to someone, I'm not going to assume automatically this guy is not smart and he's dumb and
You're not meant
he's.
to judge.
I shouldn't be doing that. I should take him as a very noble person, intelligent person, a truthful person, and so on, until proven otherwise, right? So you see the way I'm supposed to think.
Yeah.
So
But this
When-
is my
when-
point. I already think like that. I never.
I'm not
judge-
disagreeing.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
saying you already have these principles,
Okay.
but these principles may be inculcated within you, like it's been inculcated within us, by different ways. For example, our society conditions us through what? From family at the very beginning. You go to school, your teachers, in your workplace, your interaction with friends. Everyone is influencing each other in a way how to behave. So your behavior, your line of thinking may be already inculcated from the teaching that is already available, right? So the only thing that I am simply saying is you're thinking that times have changed. These revelations were given thousands of years, hundreds of years ago. So there may be still things are lacking because we are developing, we are changing.
Yes.
But one of the beauty of Islam is this: Allah tells us in the Quran, He has completed His religion, perfected His religion, and He's chosen this religion for us, okay? Which is acceptable to Him. So He has completed in what? He hasn't left anything for our own, thinking later, saying, "Oh, what do I do in this now?" The guidance has been completed. So we don't have to now go and say, sit down, okay, what do I do in this case? So the principles are all there from God. So you would not find a situation, because what mankind, that is, and women, we think, we behave, and we have our organic needs and so on. This doesn't change. Technology can change. Whether you live in a palace or just on the streets, you'll still have to live somewhere to, spend your sleeping. We have to sleep. Otherwise, you're going to go very, very, what happens if you don't sleep successively, continuously. So these kind of, our urge for eating to sustain our life, getting tired and sleeping and so on and so forth, these won't change. Our need for companionship and love, these won't change. These things, what Allah has addressed and given us framework and how to conduct our life accordingly. So it is not anything asking different that you do. It's actually doing this in a framework which is conducive, which is really beneficial to you and to the broader society. So when you come to Islam, you're coming with this identity that, okay, fine, I acknowledge Allah is my Lord, my Creator, and I surrender to His will. If He says, for example, do not kill, I know killing is bad. I can appreciate that. But there might be other commands, for example, I'm supposed to do, which I don't appreciate. Yeah. So this is where, when you come through a comprehensive system of God, because you trust in God and you love Him, and you fulfill your life accordingly, this is what is required of us.
I understand this, but let me put one point across. For example, student loans. Yeah? Now, I know interest is, I've heard, is one of the worst things you can do in Islam. Now, 1,400 years ago, I'm sure there was no universities, right? And there wasn't much education for people like how there is today. Now, let's say a Muslim sister wants to go and get a loan out because she doesn't have enough money to go become a doctor. Yeah? I was having this debate with someone earlier on. And she wants to save lives, but she knows that's one of the biggest sins she can do, but it's not for wrong, it's for doing right. Why should she come away from that? Because God tells her this. Now, that's my point. Now, I'm sure in the commandments it's written as one of the worst things because you shouldn't take a loan out, because people take loans out for bad things and do, bad things with it. But this is for a good thing. So why should a Muslim sister not go after that and not take a loan out to
Very, 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 very good question. I mean, if a scholar were to analyze the situation, I'm sure they will give, and this is what the beauty of Islam is. Islam is always flexible in deriving its laws from the sources of Islam. So you have the Quran and you have the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. You have the understanding and the agreement of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. And then you have the analogical deduction based on all these three, if there is a direct evidence absent. They will come up with a good solution on this issue.
But I want to. Human being telling me that.
No, it's not human being telling. God and His Messenger has provided this framework how to conduct our life. So any problems that arises, whether it's student loans or euthanasia, whether it's rehabilitation with methadone or whatever, solutions will be provided. Based on that. But this solution has to be in conformity with this framework. That's the difference.
That's my point, though.
Yeah.
For example, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he might not have known, or God might not have, well, I know God is all-knowing, sorry, but I'm just saying that we make time what it is. We make life what it is, right? So we might have made something that it doesn't have an answer to in the Quran, like loans. Maybe there is no answer.
But what I just said is, things will come as new problems, new situations.
Yeah, new situations.
In Islam, we have a process called ijtihad, where you deduce the rulings based on the framework. And the framework, as I said, was the Book of God, the Sunnah of the Prophet, his actions, his approvals, his disapprovals, his teaching, basically, and the collective consensus of his companions on a certain matter. And these are the frameworks. So if you find directly in the Book of Allah, then you have the solution. If you don't find it there and you find it in the teaching of the Prophet ﷺ, you can take it from there. If you find that the companions have similar issues, for example, they explain it and they agree that the solution is there. If you don't find in any of these places, then you have what we call qiyas, this analogical deduction, basically, what you have to do in a situation where there is nothing directly mentioned in the primary sources of Islam. There's always this the fourth, foundational pillar.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah, so it's there. That is why the Islamic jurists, in fact, jurisprudence is a big subject, and specialized people are studying this subject for that very field. We've called them faqih, for example, and they will give issues of verdicts or fatwa and so on, so forth, based on this framework. So the difference between individual assessment of situation without God's framework and looking at the framework and arriving at an answer is different. Our approach should be, whatever problem arises, the solution should be in line with God's framework. Yeah?
Yeah.
I'm using the word
Yeah,
framework
yeah,
very
yeah,
loosely.
yeah.
Yeah? Do you agree it's the best way?
I agree.
So
But
Islam,
what if there's something that's
yeah.
not,
So-
you can't find in the framework?
Islam provides that. Now suppose something is totally, student loan probably is not a good example. Maybe it will be justified by some scholars depending on situation and so on.
Is that on their interpretation of it, or is it say somewhere?
Based on this
their-
framework. Based on this framework.
On their interpretation.
But
of the
it may be something like, say, let's give something obvious example where, saying at this situation, you know what, society has changed now, everyone's eating pork, let's eat pork, for example. Can we not do that? Because, for example, something is clear-cut like this, it would not be justified by any schools of law in Islam and saying, oh, the framework allows that, because it's clearly clear-cut forbidden, totally not allowed, impermissible. So we have to understand that sometimes it may be that there are things which are totally impermissible, but people feel the need for it. Now, if you think about this, is your need more important than following God's law? Because God already provided a framework for a reason. For example, He has said, don't eat blood or dead meat. Right. Some people might say, no, but I like it. Everyone likes it. So you like it even though knowing there's a reason for its impermissibility. So are you going to go for your own wishes, that because I like it, and go against the laws of God? Then how are you really loving God? If God gave you a framework through which you conduct your life, show your love and gratitude to Him, this is the framework that we should abide by.
But this is where my point
Yeah.
is like.
So just to finish on this point, and of course you can say what you have to say on this issue. If we find there's something that goes against the commands of God, then we should ask ourselves: is it really necessary for me to go against the command of God just because there's a need for it?
Yes.
Because God has given us this life and created all with one same purpose, to worship Him, right? But not everyone will have the same level of living their life. Some people maybe not so smart, some people very smart, but each one will have to fulfill their purpose depending on what the level of their capability, right? Those people who are totally insane, they will not be accountable for, because they are not able to distinguish between right and wrong and so on. Yeah? So situation can arise. You just have to see, do I need to follow this? Is it something that is, just my wishes and my desires? Because my wish, if I make my wish my God, my desire my God, then I haven't really showed my love and my gratitude to Allah.
Yes,
Yeah?
yes.
So that's why we draw the line. For example, man cannot wear gold. You might think, so what? What's so special about gold? But Allah's told us not to wear gold. It could be one way of testing us. Are we really showing our allegiance, our surrendering to Allah, even though something as mundane as wearing gold? Yeah?
I understand that.
Yeah.
But
This is where the framework comes in.
to go back to, for example, you're saying pork, right? Now, let's say, I was talking about red meat earlier. Red meat is probably worse or as bad as pork at the moment today. Now, 2,000 years ago, maybe it wasn't. But this is my point. Should we ban red meat now? I think it's wrong.
Why is it bad? It's the antibiotics, right?
It's been proven that red meat is as bad or even worse than pork.
Do you know what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ said about red meat? I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken, only eat a little bit.
I know, but it's still, right now, I understand that, but maybe 2,000 years ago, it's not as bad as it is today. I've read up on it.
But red
It's
meat
worse.
on its own doesn't make you unhealthy. Eating excessively, a lot of things can make
But
you.
it is cancerous.
Right. red meat is not. I work in a cancerous area as well, right? Your interest in cancer, my interest is in cancer as well. Okay, I study cancer therapeutics.
But you can admit
Right.
that red
No,
meat
no,
is as
there
bad
are-
as pork. It is.
Not
It's
necessarily.
on the highest list of meats.
There are many,
bad
many,
meats.
many things which we will say, look, we should try to avoid from our diet, but it doesn't mean it is something that is carcinogenic.
But you have to admit that now, because of what they're injecting into these animals, we are getting poisoned by it by eating meat. Because meat is become cancerous. This is my point.
Yeah.
So my point is that now I believe as people we should become vegetarians
Is there
because
countries-
of our inside health and of the fact that what's going into these chickens, what they're injecting into these is poison.
What about the vegetables?
And vegetables, I understand that.
So you have to not
But
be
there's a
vegetarian
difference.
as well. You have to leave yourself from eating anything.
Yes, no, but I understand. But there's a big difference of the meat to the vegetables and the badness of the meat. So my point is that now, as a person, should I think to myself, okay, do I need to stop eating meat now? Because I wasn't told. not
Okay.
to.
Where
Do you
is the
understand what I mean?
problem? Is the problem the meat itself or what's been introduced in the meat?
Both. Maybe it was, like you said, Prophet Muhammad said only eat a little bit because he knew it wasn't good for you. But now, from them times to now, I'm sure meat in general, chicken, it's got much worse. And we
But
know
the
this.
chicken on itself, I'm not sure why we're talking about meats and
Yeah,
chicken.
sorry,
every
I'm
day.
just saying.
It's gonna
I'm
feel
just-
angry,
no,
like-
right?
It's just, I'm just saying.
late in the day, right?
No, sorry, I'm just saying. It's
joking,
just, I'm just trying to give an example of something that has become much worse, and it's not actually good for human beings now to understand that there's certain things that will change that we can work around. Maybe.
There's a different approach though we should take. Instead of saying, look, water is so much polluted, we should stop drinking water. Meat is so much been, introduced other chemicals and poisonous elements within it, we should stop eating meat. We should view it differently. The problem is, like in chicken, for example, in poultry, we are introducing things which are unhealthy. We should stop introducing them.
Yes.
We are doing this because we want mass production, easy transport. You know how to make egg shells stronger, how they introduce manganese and other chemicals so that the shells is stronger during transport. That's how they feed the chicken. But if we start thinking, stop thinking in this commercialization process and say, look, our health should come first, our health concerns. Okay? That's why a lot of work and study and research is been doing on prevention cancer,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And our diets
Yes.
is a big part of it, as you know.
Big part.
And so is our exercise and all the other
Yes,
things.
yes.
So instead of just looking at the issue in a different way, we should say, look, we should stop polluting our air, stop polluting our land, stop polluting our water, stop polluting our food, our vegetables and
That's
so
my
on.
point.
Yep. Now,
1,400 years ago, did they drive? No, but I'm sure if they did, maybe that would have been forbidden.
but look at the principle
Pollution.
though. Look at the principle. Allah and His Messenger, what have they said? Allah already says about this, ظهر الفساد في البر والبحر. Corruption, pollution has occurred in land and sea, what man has earned, or what they have done with their own hands.
So
We are introducing.
it's kind
so
of
Allah,
showing you as well,
yes.
pollution is wrong as well.
Allah
It's kind
says,
of showing you these things. I get what
so
you mean, yeah.
the principle, the message is already there. Allah says that He has set up a balance.
Yes.
وَلَا تُخْسِرُ الْمِيزَانِ. Do not upset this balance.
Yes,
We are creating holes in the ozone layer.
yes.
Allah has already told us 1400 years ago, don't do that.
Okay,
Don't create this
This
imbalance.
is my point. So that's what you mean. So basically, these sayings,
Within
basically
Islam, the
in
answers are
Islam,
there and they will come up.
for things that don't even state that this is, you need to not do this, you have to understand that there's a moderation in everything. That means pollution's wrong, that means this is wrong. I just want to say.
Would we be injecting
Now-
animals with intoxicants, as would be, that would at some point be helpful to mankind, but then start causing sicknesses to mankind under Islam? More than likely it will stop, because the rulership is, if we're harming
Yes.
mankind, it will stop.
I get what you're trying to say. So he's trying to say basically
Yeah.
anything that's kind of harming us in an environment where we need to know that's wrong. So even if necessarily it doesn't say cars are wrong or this is wrong, we need to understand that it's in our principle of what's written. I understand that. So that's where my point comes across to do with loans and university. So if in that case we understand that these things are wrong and we know that this is in our principle of our morals, then that could still have the same case of getting a loan out. Because we understand that interest is wrong in these principles and our morals, but we know that it's not something we're doing for a wrongdoing. We're going to make ourselves better people. Do you understand what I mean?
No, I understand.
As
But
far as you know,
So that's
I
the
want
same
to, I want to, I want to
concept,
just
isn't
point to one thing though. In Islam, we have this principle. or we don't have this principle, which is the principle of Robin Hood. Robin Hood in the Sherwood Forest in Nottingham. Is it Nottingham? Right. You know, what he was doing is what? As the tale goes, he was stealing from the rich, not because he wants to steal, but he had a good intention. To do what? To then distribute to the poor.
Yes.
So intention is good,
Yes.
but the method was wrong.
Yes.
In Islam, the method has to be correct. Intention has to be good, of course, but the method to arrive at your